All right, Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. And this video is going into who are the Gentiles in the New Testament. Was Paul writing his letter to the heathen, even though Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ? Matthew 10 and 5 through 7, Matthew 15 and 21, Matthew 15 and 24, Matthew 1 and 21. Although Christ wasn't sent for the other nations, he was sent for his people, which are the Israelites. So was Paul going to turn around and do what Christ wasn't doing? He going to turn around and do his own thing? Because Paul was a follower of Christ. Paul wasn't just out doing his own thing, so Paul was following the same thing Christ was following. So why would Paul turn around and do the opposite of what Christ doing? Because Christ was only sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He wasn't dealing with nobody else when he was on the scene. So why Paul gonna turn around and be like, okay, Christ did that, so I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna deal with the Gentiles of the other nations. Well, you gotta understand, for the people that don't know, hey, in the Christian church, they ain't telling you this. They're not telling you this. It's two types of Gentiles in the Bible. I'm gonna say this again. It's two types of Gentiles in the Bible, right? The first Gentiles you have are the Gentiles of the other nations. The other nations are Gentiles by blood. The Gentiles are the heathen. They are the Gentiles by blood. They are not Israelites, right? Those are the first Gentiles. So the so-called white man, the East Indian man, the Chinese man and woman, the Japanese man and woman, the African man and woman, they are the Gentiles by blood, right? They the heathen. So the other Gentiles you have are Israelites. You have Gentiles that are Israelites. They are in the Gentile state of mind. They are, going let's following the customs of this world. They will be Gentiles by not by blood, but they'll be Gentiles in the Gentile state of mind because they worshiping the things of this world. They pushing themselves farther away from Christ. So they'll be Gentiles because they following the customs of the other nations, right? So I'm going to prove to you that you also have Israelites that were classified as Gentiles because they was in the Gentile state of mind, right? So you have 1 Corinthians 10 and 1. Because people love going to Paul letters saying that Paul writing to the Gentiles of other nations. They love going to his letters to prove it, but they don't even know who he's talking to. And notice, right? Notice, you can go look yourself. When you read Paul letters, right? He either starts off with this to all the saints or to my brethren. And if you don't start off with it, when you read his letters, he gonna mention my brethren, right? So who is Paul's brethren? And who are the saints according to the Bible? Because whoever the saints is, that's who Paul writing his letters to. Let me see something. Let me get an example real quick. Go to any one of Paul's letters. He gonna mention his brethren or either the saints, or maybe even both in the letter. Ephesians chapter 1 and 1. Paul, an apostle of Yahweh Shai, by the will of Yahweh, to the saints. So he's writing a letter. When you write a letter, you're gonna let your people know who you're writing a letter to. He writing a letter to the saints. Now, is everybody the saints? You may have some that say yes, everybody the saints. But where's the precept? Where do it say in the Bible that everybody the saints? I'm finna show you in the Bible that only the Israelites are the saints. I'm finna show you. Let's get that. This is what I'm here for. We're gonna bring out these precepts. Let's get it. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 5, and it reads, "Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice." So the saints are the people that made a covenant with him by sacrifice. Who are the only people that made a covenant by sacrifice? Who are the only people that was doing that? The Israelites. Now I'm finna prove it. I could just leave it right there and prove it. That's the end of it. But now I'm gonna get this to show you who made a covenant with him by sacrifice. Because whoever made a covenant with him by sacrifice to the Most High, this is who he's writing his letter to. He's not writing his letter to everybody that's on the earth. Paul didn't come. Paul wasn't sent to write his letters and wake up everybody on the earth. He was writing his letter to the Israelites that were in a Gentile state of mind, that was bugged out, that was thinking it was the so-called white man, that was getting down like the so-called white man. Just like today's time, right? Even in today's time, so like my head all over the place. Even today's time, you have our people that's Israelites, right? Israelites by blood, but they'll still be classified as Gentiles because they fall in the custom of the other nations. They celebrate Christmas, they celebrate Thanksgiving, they celebrate New Year's, they celebrate Easter. You know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving, if I didn't say that already. You know what I'm saying? They living as the other nations. So if Paul is on the scene right now, he will be writing his letters to our people that's in those customs, that's doing those things, that's acting like they're the other nations. He will be writing those letters to them, telling them to tighten up, to get yourself right. You an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? So let me show you who we made a covenant with. This in the Bible. This Romans chapter 9, verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren. So who is his brethren? My kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. So when you see brethren, when Paul writing his letters, he's saying brethren. He's talking to the Israelites. Those are Paul's brethren. Paul from the tribe of Benjamin. He's an Israelite. So who is his brethren? His brethren are other fellow Israelites. To whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory, talking about the Israelites, and the covenants and the giving of the law. So he's giving of the law and the service of Yahweh and the promises. So he's writing to the Israelites. He's talking about the Israelites. The Israelites are the only people that made a covenant by sacrifice. His brethren are his brethren are the Israelites, according to Romans 9:3. You know, so when Paul writing these letters, he's not writing these letters just to anybody, but Christians like to kind of try to take a hold of these letters and be like, oh, Paul's talking about me. It's not relating to you. That's like that's just like if I'm writing a letter to somebody and I send it to Jeremiah or something like that. And then somebody else go and take Jeremiah's mail and try to make it relate to them. That's a crime. You just took this man's mail. So this is what the Christians are doing. They're taking Paul's letters, which he clearly writing to the Israelites. And I'm going to prove that even furthermore. But they're taking Paul's letters and trying to make it apply to them, which is the letters. He was never writing to the Gentiles by blood. He's writing to the Gentiles, which are Israelites. That was in a Gentile state of mind. He's trying to get them to come back to the Most High in these last days, right? This first, same thing we're doing. We're on the same mission Paul was on. We're on the same mission Yahweh was on. They wasn't going to other nations. They was reaching out to our people that's in the Gentile state of mind. Just like now, when we're on the highways and byways, we trying to reach out to the Gentiles of our people, because in the Gentile state of mind, they don't remember who they is. They don't call themselves Israelites. They call themselves black, African American, Negro. They're not wearing their fringes. They're not keeping no feast days. They're not keeping the dietary law. They are living like Gentiles. So that's why they was called Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? They push themselves farther away from Christ. So Christ was like, okay, I'm not finna deal with y'all no more. Y'all doing your own thing. That's cool. Y'all go live like the Gentiles then. That's what happened. So I had to prove that, right? So 1 Corinthians 10:1. Moreover, brethren, who is his brethren? The Israelites. I would not that ye should be ignorant how all our fathers were under the cloud. So all the fathers was everybody under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. And did everybody pass through the sea? No, only the Israelites. Only the Israelites were under the cloud in the wilderness, and only the Israelites passed through the Red Sea when Moses parted it. He's talking about his people. He's writing this letter to his people. The so-called white man, the Edomites, can't relate to that. You know what I'm saying? The Ammonites can relate to that. The Chinese man. You know what I'm saying? The Moabites, the Moabites are the Chinese. The Ammonites are the Japanese. They can't relate to that. The Egyptians can't relate to that. They were chasing us. So when he said all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea, he's writing his letter to the Israelites. 1 Corinthians is to the Israelites. All Paul's letters are to the Israelites. So when you read 1 Corinthians 12:2, same book, it says, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away into these dumb idols, even as you was led. So Paul's writing this letter, right? He said that ye were Gentiles, meaning they not Gentiles no more. But a Gentile by blood is gonna always be a Gentile. A so-called white man can't wake up and be like, I don't want to be a Gentile no more. If he a Gentile, he a heathen by blood. He can't change that. He's always going to be a Gentile. But this scripture just said that ye were Gentiles. So that means a group of people that was Gentiles at one moment, they're not Gentiles no more. Who is he talking to? The Israelites, because you have some of our people turn from their ways. They used to be Gentiles. They used to live as heathen, but now they're turning back to the laws, statutes, and commandments. So Paul is saying, hey, you were Gentiles. You were. You're not Gentiles no more though because you came back to the covenant. But you was Gentiles because you were living as the heathen. That's what Paul was saying. Paul went out here just talking to the other nations. He wasn't writing this to the Edomites. He said, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away into these dumb idols that were led. So they became Gentile because they was doing what? Idolizing, idol worship. Same as these other nations. They do the same thing. You have you have someone worship a rock. We be worshiping statues. The so-called white man, he worship white Jesus. They still do that to this day. And what are people doing? Worshiping rocks, worshiping statues, worshiping white Jesus. They doing the same exact stuff. You feel what I'm saying? But Paul said, since you was following these dumb idols and doing a custom of the other nations, hey man, you was a Gentile. We wasn't dealing with you. We didn't want dealing with you. You ain't want to do it. Hey, you ain't want to rock with us, keeping the commandments. Hey, you a Gentile. We looking at you like a Gentile now. You know what I'm saying? So let me get this real quick. So we know Paul writing his letters, and you can look through, like I said, look through all his letters. He gonna say my brethren somewhere or the saints somewhere. That's what he writing to. You know what I'm saying? We scattered. James 1:1 even James wrote us scattered abroad. The Israelites scattered abroad. Everybody was on the same mission. It wasn't nobody getting led astray or doing something that they want to do or say I ain't gonna do that no more. I'm gonna do that. All of them was writing to the Israelites. All of them was sent to the Israelites. It ain't nothing new under the sun. Just like us, we sent to the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? So let me get this real quick, Salakia. All right, this is Malachi chapter 2, verse 11 through 12. Judah has dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem, for Judah has profaned the holiness of the Lord, which he loved, and has married the daughters of a strange god. Meaning, they was getting into idol. Same thing Hosea 4:17 was saying. Same thing going on right now. Our people was getting into idolatry, right? The Lord will cut off the man that does this. So the Lord gonna cut off the man and woman that does this. When you get into idolizing, going against the Most High, he gonna cut you off, like the scriptures say. He gonna cut you off, right? So remember that. Remember the Lord's, because you gonna have to remember that, because I'm gonna keep going down the line, the scriptures, and you gonna come back to this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna come back to this. But the Lord will cut you off if you worship other gods. So if the Most High cut you off, that means He's not dealing with you. So if the Lord not dealing with you, what that mean? You're a Gentile in His eyes. Because if He cut you off from being an Israelite, what you is then to Him? If you're an Israelite to Him, you're a Gentile to Him. Simple as that. So check this out. Hosea 4:17. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. So the Lord said, okay, Ephraim is joined to idols. Hey, leave him alone. He cut off. Because Malachi 2:11-12 said, if you following other gods, you're gonna get cut off. So the Lord just said Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone, meaning cut him off. Period. Right? So remember that now. Remember what I just read, right? So Romans 9:25-26 says, as he said also in Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people, in her beloved, which was not beloved, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was called, that it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall ye be called the children of the living God. So when he said also unto Hosea, I will call them my people, which are not my people. So what happened? He gonna call the people that, basically what he's saying, the people that he cut off, he gonna call his people. He's not talking about the other nation. He's not talking about the so-called white man, the so-called Arab, East Indian. He's talking about his people, because he said he gonna cut you off if you get into idolatry. I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not my beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it said unto them, you are not my people. Meaning, you know what I'm saying? He said, you ain't my people. I'm gonna cut you off. There shall you be called the children of the living God. So then you're gonna be called the children of the living God. You know what I'm saying? When you get yourself right. Now check this out. The verse I'm finna read now is going to go back to Malachi 2 and 11 and 12 and Hosea 4 and 17, right? It says Romans 11 and 23 because Christians love to use this precept to talk about some of the Christians. I mean, the so-called white man, he can be a spiritual Israelite. He can be grafted in now. That's what they love to do. I'm finna cut this up, right? This up Romans 11 and 23. And they also, if they abide, so like, and also if they abide not still in belief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. So that kind of sounds good to Christians. They're like, okay, I can be grafted in. I can be grafted in. But let me reread this to you slowly, and I'm going to break it down to you. It's plain as table. See, the Paul letters it's very specific. And it gets to the point of who you're talking to. You got to read the context. Just read it. It makes sense by who we talking to. When you read Paul letters, you understand he's not writing this letter to everybody. This letter is not for everybody to receive, only a group of people. Check this out. Romans 11 and 23, I'm going to read it again slow. And they also, if they abide not still in belief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again. So if you grafted in something again, that means you was once in it. And we know the other nations was never joined in it. The other nations was never joined in it. So when they say you shall be grafted, because they didn't see the covenants, they didn't receive the laws, they didn't receive the promises, they didn't receive nothing. They was never with the Israelites. None of that. So he's not talking about them. It said God is able to graft them in again. So he's talking to the Israelites because they was once grafted in, but it was cut off, remember? Now he's going to allow them to come back. He's going to graft them in again. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. He's not talking about the other nations because they was never grafted in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So another point right here to prove that the Israelites were once called Gentiles. Ephesians 2 and 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past, that you was in time past, Gentiles in the flesh. So it's saying, hey, remember that you was Gentiles in the past, but you're not Gentiles anymore. Because I'm going to say it again. Gentiles by blood the other nations, they're going to always be Gentiles. They're going to always be Gentiles, right? But the scriptures just said that ye being in time past Gentile because you was doing your own thing. You was doing your own thing, right? So let me get this real quick. We cutting this thing out, you know what I'm saying? We cutting this thing up. Romans 10 and 12. They like to go to Romans 10 and 12 too. Let's get it. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. So let's see if this talking about the other nations. Let's see if when they say Greeks, let's see if it's talking about other nations. Now let's see what Joel 2 and 27 say. To prove that it's not talking about the other nations. This Joel chapter 2 and verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. So he only the God of the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? He only the God of the Israelites. Out of all the people on the earth, he only the God of the Israelites. Now we know he the God of the whole earth. Meaning he the ruler, he the God, he the king of the whole earth. He got the power of the whole earth. But we're talking about the God of a people. His people are the Israelites only, right? So when you reread Romans 10 and 12, for there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich upon all that call upon him. So when it's not talking about the other nations that are Greeks, because you got Greeks, we know the so-called Greeks are the white people, right? But you still have our people calling themselves Greek. And that goes back to our people being a Gentile in the Gentile state of mind. They call themselves Greek. Even now. You know what I'm saying? Even now our people call themselves Greek. And you had people back then, during the Greek captivity, they said, come, let's make a covenant with the heathen. They was trying to make covenants with the heathen. Back then, even today, looking these fraternities and sororities. Our people go hard for Greeks. They call themselves Greek. They do the Greek signs. They get the Greek tattoos on their arm. You have 80-year-old women that was in fraternities and sororities, and men they still rock they fraternity and sorority. They go hard for the Greeks because our people, you know what I'm saying, was bugged out thinking they Greeks still to this day. So Paul gotta tell them basically, hey man, remember it ain't no difference between you and me. Even though you in the Greek lifestyle, you still my brother. We still got the same God. You still an Israelite. That's what Paul was letting our people know because they don't know no. They in a Gentile state of mind. They so caught up in this wicked world. Paul gotta wake them up. Try his best to wake them up. So that's just like me, right? I keep the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm an Israelite, but you might have a brother, that he's an Israelite too by blood, but in the same time he a Greek and he got a Greek mindset. He in a fraternity. He doing all the things that the Greek used to do. Now, me and that brother right here, Israelite too, we still the same. He's still my brother. He's still under laws and commandments like I am. But he just in a Gentile state of mind. He just calling himself Greek and I'm calling myself a Jew. But in the day, he's still my brother. We still got the same God. That's all Paul was saying. You know what I'm saying? That's all Paul was saying. And, I wish I had my apocrypha right here. I pull that precept in First Maccabees when our people said, come, let's make a covenant with the heathen. So they went and made a covenant with the heathen. So the things that the heathen was doing, the things the Greeks was doing, our people turned around and wanted to do the same thing the Greeks was doing. You know what I'm saying? So that's proven right there. You know what I'm saying? You have our people still to this day. You can see this plain as day. Our people are living like the other nations. Our people are living like the so-called white man. Ever since we came over to America, our people want to do the same thing the so-called white man do. Everything he do want to be in the middle of it. So that make our people in a Gentile state of mind. So, that shows right there. Right? Check this out. This is another one that Christians love to use. This is the book of Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. Why I say there's neither Jew nor Greek? Because I just explained to you why. They're the same as that people. Just one was in the Greek mindset and the other one keeping the commandments. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither man nor female, for ye are all one in Yahweh Shah. So is this talking about everybody? Let's see. And if ye be Christ, then are ye of Abraham's seed. Here's according to the promise. So what's the promise? What's the promise? The promise of Romans 9:3-4. And who is the promise given to? The Israelites. And we know it's not talking about the other nations, man. It's talking about the Israelites because the Israelites are the only people that received the promise. And Christ was only dealing with the Israelites when he was on the scene. Christ wasn't dealing with no other nation. You can't find me nowhere in the Bible where Christ was dealing with the Edomites. You know what I'm saying? You can't find me nowhere in the Bible when Christ was just going around saying, I'm here for the other nations. I changed my mind. I'm here for the Edomites. I'm here for the Amalekites. For the Amalekites. Matthew 10:5. Let me pull it. Let me start saying. Let me pull it. Let's see what Christ said. You know what I'm saying? You actually have an Edomite say, I watched the video. You had an Edomite saying, we're not following Christ no more. We're following Paul. Who is Paul following? Yahweh Shai. Man, it's Matthew 10:5. These 12 Yahweh Shai sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles and into any city of Samaria until you not. So don't go into the other nations, man. Now, it's two types of Gentiles, so you got to understand the context. In this context, he's talking about don't go into the heathen. Don't go into them. They already got their guys. See, back then, the other nations, so-called white men, everybody knew on the face of the earth that it was only one real God, which he was the God of the Israelites. So that's why the other nations had to create gods and all that. So they already had their gods. They already had their beliefs. So the Lord said, don't go into them. They ain't my people. Don't go into them. I'm not sent for them. He said, enter ye not into the city of Samaria, enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So he's saying, don't go into them, go into your people. Your people are the ones that need to be waked up. Your people are the ones that's bugged out. Your people are the ones that's strung out on drugs. Your people are the ones that's in the projects, in the trap house, in the slums. Go get them out. Don't worry about the other nations. That's what he's saying. That's what Christ said when he was on the scene. Now check this out. So why would Paul turn around and do the complete opposite? This is Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So when Christ was on the scene, he was only sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He only had one mission. He had one mission. He wasn't turning around dealing with the other nation. And Paul wasn't either. Paul's letters is not written for the other nations. It's written for the Israelites that's in a Gentile state of mind, that's bugged out, that don't know who they is, that don't even know where they come from. This is who he writing his letter to wake them up. You know what I'm saying? It just wake them up. You know, so this is my video going. I might do a part 2. I'm going to do a part 2, Lord willing, going into this, you know what I'm saying, breakdown. This is just part 1 going into a Paul letters are not for the other nations. His Paul letters are written for the Israelites, the blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. His letters are written to you. It's not written to the other nations. You know, so start reading Paul letters like it's referring to you. Paul letters is not talking to you. Even in today's time, if you try to read like it's talking to you, you're wrong. This letter is still referring to the Israelites still in 2022 or 2021. It ain't 2022. It ain't 2022 yet. You know, the real New Year's is in springtime. But Paul's letters is always referring to the Israelites even in today's time. So it's still not referring to the other nations. So stop trying to make it relate to you and apply to you when it was never written for you. You know, so this But the King, a.k.a. Obadiah, or Obadiah, a.k.a. But the King. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem HaKadosh. And I'm going to say this again before I close out. It's 2 different types of Gentiles in the Bible. You have Gentiles, which are the heathen. You have Gentiles, which are the Israelites that was cut off from Israel. You know what I'm saying? That was in the Gentile state of mind. You know, Shalom.